Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk a little Halo lore and talk about Andrew Del Rio, which you may know him as Captain Del Rio from Halo 4, being captain of the UNSC Infinity. There is more to Andrew Del Rio than what we saw in Halo 4, and I thought it would be interesting to dive a little bit deeper about him. Moving forward, I will refer to Andrew Del Rio as Captain Del Rio or Del Rio. Before I dive deeper into Captain Del Rio, I want to share why I want to talk about Del Rio. Master Chief was always respected among the UNSC and even throughout the Covenant, known as the Demon from both respect and fear. When Chief and Cortana would share their opinion on what was the best course of action, everyone listened and followed along. Captain Del Rio was different. Once Master Chief and Cortana provided their testimony of the threat from the Didact, Prometheans, and Covenant, Del Rio disregarded them and wanted to decommission Cortana as she displayed signs of rapidity past her life cycle. Chief then protected Cortana by taking her AI chip, by inserting it into his helmet and disobeying direct orders from Captain Del Rio. To me, this was a turning point from their relationship where now Captain Del Rio had no respect for the Chief. This made me wonder about Captain Del Rio's past and how he ended up not cherishing the Spartan that saved the human race multiple times from this point. I would have expected Captain Del Rio to let it go until they resolved their immediate threats before moving along to decommission the aging Cortana. During construction of the UNSC Infinity, Del Rio served as a project manager. Lacking any leadership qualities to boost morale such as Captain Cutter did within Halo Wars 1 and 2, Del Rio got his position because of his more than capable executive officer, Commander Lasky. It was known within command that Commander Lasky can be the face of the Infinity. Del Rio was given the honor of being the first commanding officer of the largest and most advanced warship to date within the UNSC. The UNSC Infinity began construction in 2544 and was officially commissioned in 2557. Although it was commissioned in 2557, it has seen combat as early as March of 2553 and even averted disaster in January of 2553. This near disaster is led by Ilsa Zane, who was the sole survivor of the first phase Spartan 4s that defected due to her mental instability. It was through the faction, New Colonial Alliance, that attempted to commandeer the ship where Ilsa snuck aboard disguised as a construction worker and took Del Rio hostage while taking down the ship's AI. With the help of June 8266, other Spartans and Lasky, they were able to override the ship's lockdown, and Del Rio brought back the ship's AI where they activated containment doors to send Ilsa and the rest of the insurrectionists into space. During a trial deployment, Del Rio was being tested by Admiral Hood and Margaret Perigowski to aid the Arbiter in the bloody years on St. Helios. Perigowski was purposely nitpicking and getting under Del Rio's skin to see how he would perform under pressure as he was operating under a high-profile mission. Del Rio was successful in Infinity's weapon tests and was successful in aiding the Arbiter by pushing back the servants of the Abiding Truth who followed their species' pre-covenant religious beliefs. In 2557, investigating the disappearance of a science team on Ivanov, Del Rio and the Infinity picked up a distress call from the Ford onto Dawn that was sent out by Cortana. In process, Del Rio found the shield world of Requiem. While Cortana attempted to communicate to the Infinity to warn them not to proceed as they fell through the gravity well, Del Rio and crew could not decipher Cortana's message and soon were caught into the Requiem's gravity well, resulting in the ship crash landing into the jungles of the shield world. Del Rio then ordered a contingent force to deactivate the gravity well, but they were overran by the Covenant forces as well as the Didact attacking the vulnerable Infinity. Master Chief and Cortana then aids what was remaining of the contingent force and the Infinity by activating the ship's defense system as the Didact took over the bridge. Where things get real interesting for me is Del Rio's interaction with Chief and Cortana. Chief and Cortana experience what the Didact really is and try to warn Del Rio, but instead Del Rio wants to focus on deactivating the gravity well to fight another day. As Del Rio sends Chief and Gypsy Company to deactivate the gravity well, Del Rio provides a briefing on the mission, ahead of where Chief asks additional information regarding the mission. Del Rio, for no reason, shows signs of annoyance and disrespect to Chief, as if Chief doesn't know combat anymore. This is an incredibly powerful scene because Del Rio displays his disregard for Master Chief and displays a sign of narcissism and not understanding his enemy. One thing you learn is never to underestimate your enemy, especially a new threat, as they have shown that they can take you down. After Master Chief completes the mission, Chief is visited by the Librarian, and then shares to Del Rio what uncovered and advises they need to keep pursuing the Didact as he is in a vulnerable state. Del Rio dismisses their testimony. Cortana, frustrated with Del Rio's dismissal, displays the signs of rampancy by showing a human side of her by having an outburst. Del Rio sees this as a threat and wants to decommission Cortana ASAP by ordering Lasky to obtain Cortana's chip, but instead Chief steps in by retrieving Cortana and inserts her in his helmet. Del Rio then loses his cool and orders Commander Palmer to arrest Chief, but Lasky steps in to side with Chief, where Chief then is abandoned by Del Rio. Returning to Earth prior to the events of the Didact attacking Earth, Fleet Admiral Hood and the rest of the Council disagreed with Del Rio's decision on Requiem and how he abandoned Master Chief. Due to this, Del Rio was relieved of command of the Infinity and replaced by Lasky. An investigation was to take place but was proven to be correct action on Del Rio's part, as the UNSC fleet failed to provide support and Master Chief did return to Earth to handle the Didact. With no more prospect of a new command due to his ill-advised decisions on Requiem, Del Rio decided to retire from Fleet Command and instead pursue a political career with his connections, where he eventually became a senator. Being a senator, he proved to be a popular and more than able bureaucrat. What I believe is due to Del Rio's interaction with Master Chief. Del Rio had a hidden agenda to decommission all Spartan 2s, which we all know Master Chief is a Spartan 2, and praising the Spartan 4s. Del Rio wanted Master Chief arrested, calling him a false Spartan and a broken bastard of a soldier. Security footage was released revealing that Del Rio was in the wrong, where he redacted what he said earlier, and in a move to save his political career, praised Master Chief, saying he's a hero. Shortly after, Del Rio hid from the public view, relating it to family matters. To me, it's interesting to see the complexities within the UNSC as well as its flaws. Halo CE, 2, and 3 always display the UNSC as this well-oiled machine that makes the best decisions, but we see that within the Halo series, no one is perfect. Del Rio might have justified his reasons for abandoning Chief back on Requiem, or he was really looking out for his personal survival before anyone else's. It's difficult to say, as Del Rio had some deep moments that was displayed in Halo 4. I think it's human to be selfish at times, but when Del Rio discarded Chief and Cortana's testimony regarding the Didact, sometimes self-sacrifice is required for the bigger picture. Or in this case, the bigger picture was to save the threat to Earth. Alright guys, thanks for the journey, and I hope you learned a little more about Andrew Del Rio, and look forward to creating more content as I have uncovered a lot of interesting stories just by learning about him. Alright guys, catch you at the next video.